Hey guys, how's it going? Just wanted to talk about PundiX a little bit today. I'm one of the first ones in the US to actually get one of these devices. Here, let me show you. So here's what the XPOS device looks like. This is what PundiX is putting out. I want to go over what is PundiX, what are they trying to accomplish, what does their timeline look like, and what kind of products are they putting out? XPOS, the XPhone. They've talked about a line of products that are going to come out soon. So I want to help give a little bit more information on that and my user experience with it, and share some of that with you guys today. So let's figure out how to get this to work. All right, so what is PundiX? PundiX is a blockchain startup out of Asia, headquartered in Singapore now, I believe, and they are hoping to build a superior blockchain for real-life applications. And their blockchain is called FunctionX, FunctionX, and that's basically the heart of their product line. So that is what allows them to do what they can do on the XPOS, the XPhone, and whatever they end up coming out with in the future. And right now their flagship product is the XPOS, and I'll get into that and what their timeline says on their website. I'll show you a few snippets and everything as well. The XPhone is also really cool. We saw that presented a couple times with some prototypes. I'm sure that they'll have something ready for production potentially in mid-2019. That's just a rough guess, but that's definitely coming up the pipeline. If they can get a phone and a POS system out, they're really helping increase curiosity and demand for crypto. So what they're doing is really exciting. So I'm looking forward to all the different kind of products that they put out as we go into 2019. So let's just look at the XPOS device first, since that is their main product right now. And what is it exactly? So on their website, Pundi says that the XPOS not only facilitates cryptocurrency payment or transactions, but also accepts transactions through mobile wallets and bank cards, which they'll probably upgrade to in the future because it only works with the X wallet or the XPass card, which is this guy right here, which is pretty cool. We'll talk about that as well. Our POS solution can support retail, intelligence, inventory management, order management, marketing, and loyalty programs. So there's a lot of functionality that they want to build in to the XPOS device in the future. And I've seen a couple different versions of this. I've seen a black one with a virtual screen on the front, and I have the white one. So I'm sure that they'll come out with different versions as they upgrade it, but there's a lot of functionality that they seem to want to put into their devices as well. So they're not just selling the XPOS or the XPhone or whatever comes after that. They're selling the functionality, what their blockchain can do for marketing, advertising, inventory, I don't know, taxes, you name it. They'll probably integrate that into the Android software on their devices. So they have a few bullet points on here with what they do. Obviously, they accept cryptocurrency as payment. Right now, I believe they only accept Bitcoin, Ethereum, NPXS, and Binance Coin. They'll obviously up that in the future. Yeah, it says it right here. And a few others, XLM, XEM, Quantum. I'm sure that integration will come pretty soon. I haven't seen it yet. Support for cryptocurrency wallet payments, such as, I don't even know how to pronounce that, X Wallet, which it already does. We're just waiting for the X Wallet to come out on the iTunes store, App Store. But it's on the Android store right now, if you guys want to check it out. Nem Wallet more. I'd like to see XPOS support the Coinbase's wallet, BitPay wallet, Jack's wallet, things like that in the future, because I know those are a lot more popular in the US as compared to what they listed, but they're not even focused on the US yet. Like, they're still distributing to Latin America and Asia and whatnot. So I'm sure once they get closer to engaging more with the US, and finding more people to help distribute and more retailers, they'll probably start including US wallets that are more popular. So we might see that in 2019. That's just my guess. They're moving pretty fast. Support for loyalty and membership management systems. So loyalty points, and no different than when you go to Starbucks and you have those gold stars and then you get free coffee or free tea, free refills, free drinks and benefits and stuff like that. So that'll come with the XPOS system as well through, I believe, their NPXS token. So that's something to look out for in the future. And that'll be interesting because that'll help encourage people to want to use it. Because if I'm an everyday person and I'm buying coffee, and I would love to get a free coffee every once in a while. I mean, I love getting those punch cards where you punch the card 9 or 10 times and then you get a free drink. That's basically what it is. And I mean, you're saving money. It encourages you to use it. So I think there's an interesting way to help increase curiosity and engagement again through NPXS and integrating that into their devices. Intelligence clearing system to increase the value of the store properties. I assume this has to do with inventory again and with the store and putting products and services on the XPOS device, but I'm not 100% sure on that, but I think that's what they mean by that. Support cryptocurrency payment cards such as Pundi XPass card again. So this guy works with the XPOS. Basically all you got to do is tap it and you can pay, buy crypto, activate one of your cards. And these XPass cards are standalone wallets. So you don't need to have the X wallet. If you know someone that has an XPOS and you have an XPass card or you want an XPass card, all you got to do is find XPOS, get it activated, and then you can buy the crypto you want while you're at the merchant, and then you can just keep it on that card. So it is kind of helpful for someone that goes to a business often and they want to spend conveniently. The XPass card definitely makes that easy. So I could see that really picking up in the future, and I really like it. It's really, really seamless, and I've never had an issue with it. Just testing it out with friends, family, and people I know. Establishing a credit history and reducing financial risk. Obviously, I can see why it would help reduce financial risk, but establishing credit history, that's interesting. I haven't heard them really talk about it in detail, but I'm sure it's something in the pipeline that would help with our modern day credit system. So I'm curious to see what more they have to say on that. Support promotional and NPXS reward system. Again, that kind of goes back to loyalty points, but also creating opportunities through FunctionX blockchain or through Pundi to give you offers and discounts and things like that at merchants. So there is some usefulness there. Selling and buying crypto. So this one is going to be really popular because as a merchant, you're going to be able to, for a lot less, avoid buying a $4,000 or $5,000 crypto ATM, and you'll just be able to use the XPOS device to allow your customers to buy and sell crypto. The problem with that is you become a money services business if you start allowing your customers to buy and sell crypto in the US. So I don't know if they've really thought about this at Pundi, but they seem to be on top of the AML, KYC stuff because I get that information every once in a while. But in terms of buying and selling as a merchant, and not many merchants know that, but if someone's coming in, they're paying with Bitcoin to buy coffee, and then they say they want to buy Ethereum with the XPOS. So they buy Ethereum through the XPOS. Now you have reporting requirements. Now you got to apply to FinCEN, I believe, and go through all this paperwork because now you're a money services business. Now you're exchanging money. So you're not just a typical merchant anymore. So there's some laws that are going to need to be looked at. And there's some regulations that Pundi might have to go through to implement that part into XPOS legally. And they're going to probably have to notify these merchants ahead of time because I think a lot of them are going to want to jump in and say, yeah, let's do it. But they might run into some legal issues later on. So that's something to keep in mind. And if you are a merchant looking for XPOS, I'd highly recommend that you reach out to Pundi, or that you check with FinCEN or some laws if you're curious about that, and do a little bit more research on your own. And just be careful before you start doing that with any of your businesses. Okay, so what else? What else? Support for mobile payment apps such as Alipay, E2Pay, GoPay, Pundi, and WeChat Pay. So basically, this is like Apple Pay and Samsung Pay. So basically, what you'll be able to do with your phone is the same thing you can do with the XPass card. You'll be able to take your phone and pay instantly through the XPOS device as well. So that functionality is really nice to have. I look forward to that as well, because I know a lot of people operate completely on their smartphone nowadays. So that's going to be a cool integration. Providing a gateway for financial service providers. Well, that's good for the financial service providers. Support for third-party delivery and logistic service providers. So that's kind of interesting, because logistically it'll help streamline supply chain. It'll help streamline your ability to get new product, organize your inventory, work with third parties that want to integrate with the XPOS and integrate with a business. I can't think of an example right now, but I can see that being an interesting functionality between the merchant Pundi and some third party that wants to be involved somehow. And I'm sure advertising and marketing will fall into that somehow. Logistically, it helps with management of supplies and inventory. So that'll be fun to see as well. And I'm sure this is a small list, and they'll do a ton of different stuff with the XPOS. So this is what the XPOS device looks like. I took a picture of this when I was in Argentina after I left Colombia. Just to kind of point out some of the functionality that it already has built in. It has the XPass, Apple Pay, Samsung Pay touch reader thing on the front. It has a receipt reader on the front, so you can literally pop this guy open and receipt paper can go in there, and it prints really well. I've never had an issue with it printing either, so that's been kind of nice. Mag strip reader obviously on the front. It's got one of those for your cards, for your credit or debit cards. It's got a chip reader on the bottom. It's got a camera on the back side so that you'll be able to scan a wallet address for crypto to accept payment. It's kind of got everything built in. So this guy's pretty set and ready to go. It's a great device, and honestly, it runs on Android, and I haven't had any issues, no bottlenecks. It hasn't been slow. It locks in the price for you. So when you go to buy crypto, I believe they put it on a side chain, and then it confirms and later puts it on the blockchain. So like if you go and buy again you go buy coffee with crypto like Bitcoin, it confirms instantly. It locks on the price. So that's really, really nice that they implement side chains, because I don't think a lot of products, services on other blockchains are really doing that yet, and there really aren't any products or services on any other blockchains. Pundi's really ahead of the game with what they're doing right now. So what does their timeline look like? Well, there's not much on their timeline as of right now going forward. I think they updated it, and I think they've mentioned some stuff, but I haven't seen it yet. I got this from a couple weeks ago, and I know that in the end of Q4 here in 2018, they seem to be wanting to launch more third-party apps. They want to hit 20,000 for XPOS distribution. I don't think they're going to have any problem doing that. Moving into 2019, they want to hit 50,000 XPOS distribution in Q1. I know that they've talked about this online. They want to get the XPhone out of the prototype stage into distribution stage in Q2, Q3, sometime in the middle of 2019. So I think by the time summer rolls around in 2019, they might be ready to start distributing the XPhone. So keep that in mind. And this timeline is very lean, so they don't seem to have a timeline that's as put together as Cardano, for example. But don't let it fool you. Their development's there. They're working hard. I would like to see a little bit better of a timeline, because as merchant, as an investor, as a customer, it'd be kind of nice to follow what they're doing a little bit more. So let's talk about the XPhone a little bit, just what we know so far. Well, we don't know much. We know that it works in both traditional cell phone mode with any carrier. It also works in a blockchain mode so that you can send messages peer-to-peer through nodes on the blockchain. So let's kind of just read what was on their website a little bit. So the XPhone is the first model of the first model of XPhone is built based on the Snapdragon 660 6 gig plus 64 gig specs. This minimum spec requirement. This is a working prototype, hence the final product will be different. I kind of figured because it was a little blocky in the videos, but I think that it'll be much more streamlined and a little bit more aesthetic going forward. We envision XPhone to be your second phone, which will be designed with world-class innovations and different from your main phone. This is the only thing that I think I disagree with. I don't think that it'll be a second phone for Americans, but I do think it has the ability to replace your phone. The fact that it works in a traditional legacy mode where you can use your service provider and do everything like normal. I mean, if they can build that functionality in, just as simple as Android, if they can build that functionality in, I think a lot of people would be happy to experiment and make this their main phone. I don't see why this couldn't be their main phone. Most people aren't going to carry around two phones. It's just not practical. You got to charge two phones at night. You got to carry two phones in your pocket. I mean, guys don't carry purses. I mean, girls, yeah, they could chuck one in, but guys, you got to carry a wallet and a phone in your pocket, another phone, where you're going to put it. I mean, it's just not feasible in today's society. I mean, we operate on our smartphone and we do everything from our smartphone, but two smartphones is a lot to manage just in everyday life. So I think that they should focus on trying to make it just a normal phone to replace your current phone with all that blockchain functionality. There's no reason that it can't work as your main phone. I mean, according to what they've showed us, you can go back and forth between blockchain mode and traditional mode. So I don't think it should be your second phone. I think they should go for it being your main phone, but that's just my criticism. I like it regardless. Yeah, they've done videos, they've sent messages over the blockchain, and it's blockchain mode. It's pretty fast, works really well. I'm curious to see how that does at scale. I'm curious to see how that affects the blockchain, the NPXS token. They say that they can handle scale. I don't think we've seen scale yet. And if they're launching a phone, they must be pretty confident that they can get to scale and that they won't have a bottleneck. So I'm curious to see how that plays out. So quick Q&A, a few questions that I know a few people have asked me and a few questions that I've had. One, will there be regulations? Probably. I mean, since blockchain is very unregulated, especially in the US, it's uncharted waters. It's the Wild West of tech these days. It's going to attract a lot of AML and KYC scrutiny, and this will probably be the case with the XPhone as well, because our government officials don't understand it completely yet. There's a lot of institutions and big businesses that are also trying to understand it better. So yeah, there'll be some regulations that'll come in, especially if it gets popular. If this thing takes off in the US, which I think it has a good shot at doing so, it's going to attract a lot of attention, especially from the SEC looking at the NPXS token, especially from FinCEN looking at AML and KYC. There's a lot to consider that hasn't been refined yet, and we made some very small steps in 2017 and 2018, but the government is not even close to the US government's not even close to fully understanding this, and neither are most countries. So I don't see there not being regulations, there not being hurdles. So I'd like to see how they navigate that environment going into 2019 and going into 2020. Two, what are the barriers to entry for the US market? So this is a good question. Are we going to have to pay tariffs to get this into the U.S. market? Are we going to have to worry about what global trade is at for the U.S.? Because I know that everything's kind of up in the air with our government right now, and with economics, I mean, things can get complicated, especially when you have new technology. I think the biggest barrier that I come across really is just education. As an everyday person compared to someone that knows this inside and out, there is a huge gap in understanding it, which is why I'm putting out these videos and why I'm trying to create more content for you guys. There's just not enough education. Not enough people understand it enough yet. I mean, blockchain is somewhat complicated at a normal level, and then it gets really complicated after that. So how do we simplify that for people that aren't millennials, people that aren't in my age group? How do we get it so that it's easy for students to use and to learn about, and for individuals and for businesses and corporations and for government officials who are a lot older than us on average, who aren't very tech savvy in a lot of ways. So education is going to be a massive hurdle in the US, and I'm sure it will be in other places too. But there's opportunity to jump in and to help educate around blockchain. I think that's very important right now, especially in an early market. If the bear market continues, I think negative sentiment could help prevent XPOS from getting distributed too quickly. So I'm hoping that we are bottoming out right now, because it's been a nasty crypto winter all of 2018. If we can turn that around in 2019 and generate some excitement, I think XPOS will take off. I think Pundi blockchain will take off. I think the NPXS token will rally hard. I think there's a lot of potential for Pundi in general. But this bear market, if this continues and we have negative sentiment, I think it will slow them down a little bit. It won't slow down development, but their ability to distribute might get slowed down. Last one, will credit card companies and banks work with the XPOS device? So my guess is most likely. I don't see the issue except with some of these credit card companies having issues, because I know that they don't want you to use credit cards to buy what they consider a highly risky asset like Bitcoin. And they probably wouldn't want you doing it on one of these devices, which is why earlier I brought up the fact that buying and selling crypto through the XPOS could become a regulatory issue. Making purchases won't be a regulatory issue. Once we fully straighten out what's going to be considered property, a security, money in terms of crypto in general, I think that'll help a lot of people. And I don't see there being an issue, because there is an issue right now when you want to take Bitcoin and go buy something. You don't have an issue buying coffee with Bitcoin. You just have to find someone that accepts it. So XPOS isn't going to have a problem with that. The only thing they're going to have an issue with is buying and selling crypto on the XPOS in America, because you automatically become a money services business. Your bank might not want to work with you. They might want to shut your account down. FinCEN might come and start bothering you. They're going to make you go through all these requirements and this paperwork, and you got AML, KYC reporting. So it can be a headache. And a lot of businesses don't want to go that route, and they might not want to implement that functionality, period. So yeah, that could be an issue. I think it will be an issue, but I don't think it's something that's going to stop Pundi or XPOS. I think they have to learn to work around it, and I think once they fully enter the US, fully start putting out information and advertising and engaging more with the US with what Pundi can do, I think that that will be resolved. But as it stands right now, that would be a huge risk for me to take on. I can't buy and sell through the XPOS device without being a money services business. So that is something that Pundi needs to consider when they enter the US market more. and for merchants if they decide to buy the XPOS. Other than that, I think that I covered almost everything that's important about the XPOS, XPhone, and what Pundi is currently doing. I could talk about the revenue model, but I'd probably end up talking about that forever. So the gist of the revenue model is when Pundi gets a fee in NPXS from the XPOS device, they take that NPXS and they remove it from circulation. So the revenue model is very deflationary. So if you're investing in Pundi and you're holding NPXS, I think you should hold it with long-term expectations because it will be deflationary. And it is a great deal to buy it and hold on to it now, especially if it becomes an everyday used crypto. And if it's used for loyalty points, and it's used with the XPOS and somehow gets used with the XPhone and other products in their line, and it's deflationary, I think it's gonna do pretty well over the next couple of years and beyond that. So definitely consider NPXS with that in mind. Other than that, I'm gonna wrap it up for today. Keep the video short, not go too long, but you can follow me on Facebook at the BlockHash, on Instagram at the BlockHash, Twitter, Zembrand, YouTube, BlockHash Team. Make sure you subscribe if you like the video, and feel free to comment if there's anything you want to see in the future, or if you have any questions or you want to converse on any topics. More than happy to jump in, talk about that stuff with you. On Twitch, at Zembrand as well. And that is it for today. Thank you guys for watching. Again, don't forget to subscribe, and see you guys soon.